Hello, my name is Todd Hockman with West Coast Training. During this Insurance Insight, we will be discussing Coverage B, Personal and Advertising Injury on a Commercial General Liability Policy, the CGL. If you've missed previous segments on this or other topics, just go to our Facebook page. Let's get started. In this series, we have broken down the insured offenses found in Coverage B, Personal and Advertising Injury Liability. We'll discuss each of these insured offenses in upcoming segments. Now, as we review these insured offenses, a common question is, how can they be insured if they're done on purpose? Remember, the CGL insures the business for torts committed by insured persons, like employees. So, if an employee commits one of these insured offenses, the business is protected by the CGL. In our next segment, we will review our first insured offense, false arrest, detention, or imprisonment. The first insured offense is one of great concern to businesses with security staff, false arrest, detention, or imprisonment. False imprisonment consists of holding someone in a place against their will. Physical touching is not required for this offense to occur. Simply yelling out across a crowded store, "Stop, thief!" is all that's required for an imprisonment to occur. False arrest is a more serious offense in some ways because it involves calling the police for prosecution. As I'm sure you can appreciate, either of these offenses could harm the reputation of any innocent person. Can you imagine the embarrassment of being grabbed by a security guard at a department store when you're out with family or friends? In our next segment, we will discuss malicious prosecution. This insured offense, malicious prosecution, usually surrounds those situations where someone is motivated improperly to get even with someone. Here's how this offense happens. A false report is made to authorities and the plaintiff is arrested and then released. When it is learned that the defendant reported the wrongdoing with no legitimate reason, but was simply trying to harass or humiliate the plaintiff, malicious prosecution has occurred. For example, let's say someone reported to the police that a competitor was stealing from a local charity. This isn't true, but the defendant knew it would ruin the reputation of his competitor once the word got out about the arrest. In our next segment, we will review wrongful entry and eviction. This insured offense, wrongful entry and eviction, is of particular concern to landlords and property managers. As you are aware, landlords cannot waltz into rented residential premises whenever they wish. All provinces require some notice to be provided to the tenant, usually 24 hours. So, if a landlord did enter believing that the tenant had been provided notice, but in fact the tenant did not receive the notice, the landlord could be litigated for wrongful entry. Wrongful eviction is similar when a tenant is evicted on the mistaken belief that the rent was in arrears, or there was a lease violation, like a pet on the premises. I'm sure you understand the embarrassment of having someone walk into your home unannounced, or coming home from work only to see your belongings on the front lawn of your building after an eviction took place. Can you imagine all the neighbors peeking through their curtains, looking at you, whispering about what a deadbeat you must be? Wrongful entry and eviction are insured offenses. In our next segment, we will discuss defamation. Defamation occurs when an unjustified injury takes place to a person's esteem, goodwill, or reputation to a considerable part of the community. Defamation can be written comments. We call this libel. When defamation is spoken, we call this slander. Now, this injury to the plaintiff must be to a considerable part of the community, which implies it must be published in some way. You see, if only the person being defamed reads or hears the defendant's statement, no defamation has occurred. So a written statement like a harsh email must be addressed to enough people to be considered a community, like an email to all staff. Similarly, a spoken statement must be heard by enough people to be considered a community, like everyone at a public gathering. These statements can be defended if they're true. You've heard this before. The truth will set you free. In our next segment, we will discuss violation of privacy. people have an expectation of privacy when dealing with corporations. When this privacy is violated, the business can be sued for violating their right of privacy. For example, if customers' payment information is obtained from the business's trash, or even if their personal contact information is on public display in a business, privacy violation has occurred. I know you're all aware of several statutes addressing this important topic, like Personal Information Privacy Acts, or the federal statute, the Personal Information Protection and Electronic Documents Act. In our final segment in the series, we will discuss advertising liability. Advertising injury may occur when a business in an advertisement disparages someone's goods, products, or services, infringes on someone's copyright or slogan, or uses someone else's advertising idea. No coverage is provided for unproven claims made in advertising, incorrect pricing in advertising, or injury taking place in online discussion forums. As more and more businesses use websites to advertise, a simple review of a client's website is a very useful tool to prepare for this discussion. We hope you have enjoyed this review of the 6 common insured offenses insured by Coverage B, personal and advertising injury liability found on a CGL. We look forward to working with you in the future when we discuss other topics important to Canadian insurance brokers.